with a period in front of it. So we had before we had just IV president, make it holder.IV president. Okay? That should remove the error. But I'm going to go back on mine anyway, and I'm going to do the old build clean, build, rebuild, and I'm going to do it twice like I usually do. Another one, so build clean, and build rebuild. Usually it takes less time the second time. Set the layer. There we go, and I'm going to try to run it. And the good news is it looks like I'm not getting any errors on the run. That's a good start. But what's not good is I should be having some output here, and I'm not getting any. It should be coming in here. My goodness. Now, the good news, like I said, is it's not giving me any errors. All right. Now breaking down, it should be total number of presidents. Got that. See that? So it was loading that. I got that thing came in. Unless it's still loading, but I don't think it is. Now I'm going to leave that just sit there for a while. It's fine. We're going to move on. Okay. Darn it. Did either of you get output? No, that's not good. I'm thinking it's possible. I've had problems, I'm not lying to you, with RecyclerViews in the past. And when we go back here and we look at this, so if I'm going to bring up this right here, not that, our activity main. Okay. Right now, when you look at this right here, if I set that to 0, in fact, if I try to move this down, okay, I can't even do that. But if I try to, let's see, if I'll try to move this, I'm going to make this number bigger. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to type in here 80. Okay, that moved it down. What I want is I want this to be hooked up to this. See that? And it won't. And I think that's what the problem is. Because now it's hooked up to the top, and I don't want that. But I had this problem before, and then it just fixed itself, and I don't know what I did to fix it. It says, according to that, now it is linked up. See that? I don't know if it is or not, to be honest with you. But if I come back in here and I type in 16, well, that looks good. All right. You could see it? Yeah. Okay, that's good. Okay. And I got the same thing. See that?
Yeah, okay.
All right. Did you get that, Keegan, or not? All right. And let me tell you why that happened. Okay? Because right now, the reason this isn't working is we've got to go to and ask permission on the internet for us to be able to use the internet. So we're going to have to bring up our manifest file in just a minute. Once we do, that should be put here. Now, why is that? My divider is here. I don't know if that's where yours is, but this should be down here. Not sure why it's there, but you know what? That's, to be honest with you, that's the least of my worries right now. All right. Okay, yours looks kind of like this then? Yeah. Okay, good. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is fix that so we can try to bring the picture in. So, one thing I want to do is I want to take this and, actually I want it to, let's see. I'm going to try, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I'm going to click on here and I'm going to tell it that's not what I want. All right, so let me go back and change that again. I think it's these constraints that are screwing it up, but I'm not sure. That right there, we don't want. All right. I want this to be taking up the rest of it, so I think if I put in match parent, though, I think it's going to screw it up. See that? It took the whole height. I don't want that. So let's see if I try that. I'm just going to come in here and just try something. 600. Oops. I'm going to put in 600 dp. That's better. All right. Try about 650. I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, that's pretty close to my entire screen right now. Okay. So, but again, I'm not worried about that right now. We're gonna have to make a couple changes, and then we should have the pictures, and it actually should look pretty decent. I'm not saying it's gonna look great, but it should look pretty decent, and we should be able to go in and start making some changes. All right, so what do we do to do that? Well, we've looked at this a little bit, but I want you to go to manifests up here. Sorry, once you get bigger, that'll get bigger. Will this? That won't get bigger. Go up here, see where it says manifests? See that on yours? Click on that. There's only one file in there. That's our Android manifest.xml file. Open that up, please. We have to literally add one line, and that should get us pictures. All right? And what we want is right underneath where it says package right here. So right here, all right, right above application, we can use this blank line. Okay, I'm going to tab, and I'm going to put in here uses dash permission. Okay, notice what's next is Android name. Can you see this right here? Android name equals, and we want the one for the internet. So if I just start typing in internet, see how it finds Android permission internet? See that? I'm going to put that in, and then I'm going to tell it to close. Now, I want to be real, some people do it like this, and they make sure they put that into a blank line. And you can even put a comment in here if you want to. I think it's fine the way it is. Okay? So I'm going to save, and I'm going to go try to run it again. And don't worry if it turns out that you do get a picture of Washington that takes up the whole screen. If that were to happen, don't worry about it. Well, not good. I'm actually to the point where when this happens, and I don't get code, I'm actually hoping I get an error in here someplace, because then at least I've got something to debug. So I'm going to go into my run, and I'm going to see if there's any errors showing in here, but I didn't see anything. I'm looking for something red. Line 31, but it's not showing any errors. All right. So I'm going into Logcat, and I'm checking for error. Error in binding, service not registered. And I'm looking in here for it to give me a line number in my program, but I don't see anything. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We are going to fix this, all right? But I'm going to do a file save all. I shouldn't need the manifest file anymore. I shouldn't need that. So I'm going to close the Android manifest file just because you really shouldn't have it open if you don't need it. All right. So what should have happened here, I realize it didn't, but what should have happened here is when we ran this, we should have had here a big picture of Washington that took up the whole screen. All right. And the problem is, the reason that it would have taken up the entire screen is by default, which again means unless told otherwise, all right, what typically happens in here is that image is set up so that it takes up the entire screen, all right? And I don't mean the entire screen, but as much screen as it can take up. So I'm going to close this. And I'm going to go out to my one president that's right here. All right, and I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to look at the size. And it says wrap content. All right. I don't want it to say wrap content. Instead, I have to give it a size. All right. And I want it to be basically on my, on my emulator, be like kind of like a postage stamp size, something like that. So we're going to make that 90 dp and 90 dp. You can see how it shrunk it down. Hopefully you can when you look on your screen. Now, if we have to make it bigger or smaller, we can do that. That's not a big thing. The other thing is I'm going to grab this and I'm going to pull that thing way the hay up there. So it's basically almost yanked against it, because it's supposed to be a separator. So in other words, this should be Washington. It should say George Washington and have his term. Then down here, there should be, I don't know who was second, Jefferson. So there should be Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson, and when he served. All that makes sense? Again, I wish I had some kind of an idea right now why it's not showing anything. I'm going to figure it out. I give you my word, I'm going to figure it out. But why it's not, but it's not. And it's still, it should at least, so something is just hose it in here. And I still think it's where the way that I'm positioning it on the original page. I'm not sure if that's it or not. But like I said, we will fix it.
The load failed with glide.
With what?
Glide.
Okay.
It's not in red, it's in blue, but it has glide, load fails for HTTP.
And what is that in? Is that in?
That's in
your logcat, or just in the
run.
run itself? Okay, let me see if I've got the same thing. Yep. Failed to load resource. All right. Well, then maybe it's the address that I gave you for those files, but it shouldn't be, because the way that I tested it was like this, just so you know. First of all, let me just close this. Okay. And for the code that we're working on right now, as an example, all right, if I go out to my main activity, so if I go out to the main activity and I go to the end of this, so I'll just grab any one, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to grab this one right here. All right, and I'm going to go out and open up an internet window, paste it in, and hit enter. It says no internet. Well, that would actually be pretty important, right? So over here, for some reason, Mr. Corrigan was telling me this doesn't affect you guys, but it does me. We've got a rank in IT for instructions, and the router for that is going. That's another thing he said he might be picking up today. So I've got to go back in as guest. It just keeps knocking us off. Yeah, we have to keep resetting that router all the time, and either I'm doing it or he's doing it. But now if I refresh, there it is. Now if I click on this and I copy the image address, that's what I'm going to try to do right here. Close this. Close a bunch of these. All right. Oh, that's interesting, because it's giving me a different address than it did previously. So let me go back and I want to change this to a 1. And if what I'm about to do works, I'm going to want you to do the same thing. Okay? Let me change that to a 1. There's Washington. I'm going to right mouse click on his image, copy the image address. What the heck that did, but that's fine. And I'm going to paste it there. C. All right, I'm going to go back to this here, and I'm going to replace the one that's in there with this one, like that. All right. Now don't worry about this, exactly what's happening. It's not that big a thing, but I'm going to run it again, and I want to see if I get a picture this time. Ideally of Washington, right? Well, I got something. That's a good sign. I don't know why I'd be getting that, but I got something. All right, I'm going to go back and look at all those addresses that I gave you. I did one and it worked, and that's why I just copied the rest. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what the problem is. We'll fix it. I said this is, believe it or not, if you knew how much better this is going than when I did it over Zoom last year, it's there. You can't even compare that. All right. All right, the next thing we would like to be able to do is to navigate from one screen to the other screen. So, again, what we want to be able to do is, if you are on the first screen, where we've got Washington, etc., and you long click, meaning you click and hold down, that you're going to go to the second screen. Okay? All right. There's different ways that you can do that. The easiest way for us to do that would be something we have not talked about yet, and that would be to go in and create a brand new database, put that information in the database, and pull it out of there. That would be the easiest way to do it. All right. Well, we haven't talked about databases yet. We're going to within the next, before break. How's that? But I don't know exactly when, but we will. So we're going to, as you'd probably guess, we're going to do it a different way. All right. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to create the equivalent of a global variable that can be used in all of our classes. Does that make sense to you? All right. So how do you do that? Well, we're going to start by this. First of all, I just have a lot of stuff open, so I'm going to start closing some stuff. Okay? All right. So I'm back to here. But I'm going to come in and I'm going to add a new class, and I'm going to move some of the stuff into my new class. Okay? So I'm going to right mouse click right here above where my other classes are, and I'm going to choose New Java Class. Okay? Now, right now, you may or may not remember this. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to come right back to it, but I want to show you this. Right now, we've got what? At the top of our program. Come on. Okay. Cancel. But if we go up to the top of our program, this is main activity. It says public class main activity, all right, extends app compact activity. Okay, that's all fine. But basically, what we have right here is an activity. I think you'd agree with that. And the whole thing in total is what's referred to as, it's an application. Right? We're writing an app or an application. So we don't have to call it this, but let's make a new Java class, and I'm just going to call it my application. Like that. Okay? And let's see when I hit enter what it does. Okay, so it just comes up, not with much. Public class, my application. We're gonna add onto this extends. Spell it right. Extends application. All right. So it looks like I might need an Alt Enter here. So it's got to import android.app.application. Okay. So again, the idea behind what we're doing right now is what we want to be able to do is this, basically, what you see right here, we want this eventually to run first. And we want this to call the main activity in the other application. Now that may make sense, that may not make sense, but even if it doesn't, just bear with me, all right? Okay. All right. Okay. And I guess that what we're going to have to do then is we're going to have to go back, even though I told you to close it, go back and open up your manifest file again. All right. And right after what we just put in, okay, it's got allow backup, an icon, all this good stuff, but we have to basically let it know that what we want it to do, all right, we have to let it know that what we want it to do is we want the first thing that's in here to be our new application, that class that we just created. All right, so we're going to come in here, hit enter, and type in Android name equals. Now, watch on the screen if you would, rather than watch. As soon as I put in a period, notice what it finds. That's what we want. Okay? There's nothing else that we have to do in there. So you know, there's nothing else we have to do. So that particular part is done. So I'm again going to try to do a file save all, and again try to change to close my manifest file. I think that'll be for good, but I'm not positive. All right. So in here, what we're going to do is we are going to end up taking some of the stuff we put into our main activity, and we're going to end up copying it into here. Okay. That's why that keeps getting junk on the screen. So private, static, list, president, president list. Move this over so I can show you the whole screen here. So move that way over. There we go. Equals new array list of type president, paren, like that. Now, you know why you're getting that error for list. You know that you've got to do the Alt Enter. Okay? The problem that we have right now is, tell me if you agree with this or disagree. We have to be able to take that entire president list with our 46 presidents on there. We have to be able to take that and share it with the activity it's in now, main activity, with the other activity. Because otherwise we're not going to be able to edit what's in there. Does that make sense to you? All right. So what we're going to do then is this. We're going to go back to main activity and go down to the bottom. And where we've got this public void construct presidents list, this whole thing down here, and the add all that comes after it, okay? Every bit of this, because this goes all the way up to here. That's all of it. That makes sense? All right. Do a Control X to cut it. Go back to your new application. Don't worry if we get an error. It will be fine. Paste it in. Like I said, if you get an error, don't worry about it because we're not done yet. All right? By putting it into its own class like that, we're about to make it available and accessible to where we want it, to both of the activities. All right? So, I'm asking you this question. You know the answer. What don't we have in here right now? And the answer is, right now, we don't have a constructor. You with me? We don't have a constructor right now. So I can go here, and I should be able to right mouse click and go to generate and tell it to generate a constructor for us. Now, we could have just typed that in ourselves. That's, it's not a big thing. But what we want to tell it to do is we want it to call construct president list. All right. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to figure out what our, the ID. Imagine it was 2024, Biden doesn't run, somebody else gets elected. I don't care, Kamala Harris, fine. So it's going to be Kamala Harris. But now we've got to add a new president. Would you agree with that? All right. So what we're going to do is right underneath our private static list right here, we're going to add another variable, private static int. We're going to call it next ID. All right. And I think we can set it to whatever the size is. Because remember, right now the size of our list is 46, but it goes from 0 to 45, right? See what I'm saying? So we should be able to say president list dot size. Now when I did it originally, I just put 46 in there. Okay? But doing that, that'll work fine, but what about in 4 more years after that? All right? So we got to make sure. So that may end up changing. We'll see. But I'm not worried about it either way. All right? So now we've got our constructor. Okay? The other thing that we need in here are getters and setters. So I'm going to generate again, and I'm going to go to getter and setter. And what do I need? Well, I don't think I need a president list, but I might need the next ID. Right, I think at least that's the only one I'm going to have to worry about is next ID. So I'm going to highlight that one, click OK, and there's my getter and my setter. Okay? All right. So let's see. Now, we want to be able to go to our other class. First of all, kind of an important thing. I'm going to go back to main activity. Did I break anything? And it doesn't look like it. That's a good thing, right? All right. Now, don't type this in because I'm going to get rid of it right away. But I'm going to type in here my application dot, and notice it recognizes it. See that? Those are all good things. All right. Again, I'm not going to keep that. I just wanted to show you that. All right. But what I want to do, and again, we'll see whether or not right now, real fast, whether or not this is going to work. All right. I want us to go to our other class, our class that's called Add or Edit President, this one. All right. And remember, that's got our save button in there, it's got our cancel button in there, but now we want to add 2 things. Okay? First thing we want to add here is a list, president, geez Louise. Okay? And we want it to say president list. Okay? And again, we're getting that error, you know this, Alt, Enter, well, that fixed that. Okay? But what we have to do is, for lack of better words, we have to put a link between our program, between this class and the My Application class. All right, what do I mean? Well, we type in this, My Application, and let's just call it My Application, equals, we're going to get an error, don't worry, we'll fix it real fast, equals this, in fact, it is Get Application. All right? And we get an error. Doesn't like that. So, as we've done before, we're going to right mouse click on it and choose Show Content Actions. And it says, do you want to cast it? Yes, we do. And now it works. We have now established a link between what is available inside of that My Application class, which is our starter class, and this particular class. All right. The other thing we want to do is we want to come down here, and before our on-click listener, okay, in fact, we can if we want, we can do it right here, even before we get the references to our widgets, right there. We can say president list equals my application dot get, that's not finding it, good gravy. Should be a get president list in there, unless we call it something else, but that should have found it. Application, kernel. Well, but it should be, all right. Activity, present, that's all correct. Present list equals my application dot get. It should be finding. It's not. President list should be finding that. It's not. But so what are my actions? I don't want to create that method. I don't believe. View. It's all. Oh, that's not as correct. What's that? I am perplexed right now. I'm going to finish this. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and make sure that I've got all the right linkages to all those URLs. I'm going to do that first. Okay, and hopefully then get those pictures. Then I'm going to try to fix this. All right? So, you have your choice.